If I told you that Coca-Cola once genuinely had cocaine in it, I would be stating the obvious, right? I mean, everybody knows that it does have coca in its name, but then why did it originally have cocaine in it? I mean, that seems crazy, right? After all, who would put cocaine in a soft drink? It's just sheer madness, right? Well, not as mad as you think once you understand the part that addiction played in cocaine's rise to prevalence. But before I elaborate on that, first you've got to remember to subscribe to my channel. To understand why Coca-Cola once had cocaine in it, you have to first look at the story of the rise of Coca-Cola, which is a fascinating one that starts with Confederate Colonel John Pemberton and his suffering as a result of the American Civil War. You see, Pemberton was wounded in the Civil War and, as a result, like many of his fellow veterans from the time, had become addicted to morphine. And this led him to begin a quest to find a cure for his addiction, or rather a substitute, so something that would help him with his pain, but would not harm him so much. And he had two advantages in this quest for finding a substitute, and the first was that he had a medical degree, and the second was that he owned a drugstore in Columbus, Georgia, which was called Pemberton's Eagle Drug and Chemical House. That means he had the knowledge and a place where he could utilize that knowledge to experiment in his search for creating a substitute for his addiction. And these experiments accumulated first in the creation of something that he called Pemberton's French wine coca, which he brought into being in 1885, and then secondly in his creation of Coca-Cola, which he brought into being in 1886 in his backyard of all places. And both of these were sold as patent medicines, so they were supposed to be able to help cure people of ailments like, for example, morphine addiction. That means that yes, Coca-Cola was originally created and designed to be sold as a medical drink rather than as per se a soft drink. And in terms of the ingredients of these concoctions, well, French wine coca was basically French wine mixed with cocaine and the cola nut, which is a source of caffeine, while Coca-Cola, on the other hand, was basically syrup, cocaine, and the cola nut. So it was the non-alcoholic version of the wine version. Now, I know what you're thinking. Why cocaine as the key ingredient? After all, what has cocaine got to do with curing morphine addiction or any ailment for that matter? I mean, it seems crazy, right? Well, not as crazy as you would think based on what was known at the time. You see, it all began with an Italian neurologist by the name of Paolo Mantegazza. You see, in the mid-1800s, Mantegazza visited South America and witnessed firsthand how the natives used coca leaves for medicinal purposes, and this inspired him and intrigued him so much that he decided to experiment with coca leaves for medicinal purposes himself. And the outcome was that he, just like them, became addicted to cocaine, and he became so addicted that by the time he returned in 1859, he basically would chew coca leaves daily, and a lot of them at that. But then I know what you're thinking. What's this got to do with John Pemberton and Coca-Cola originally having cocaine in it? Well, remember how I said that John Pemberton had two advantages when looking for a substitute for his morphine addiction, and one of those was that he was highly knowledgeable about medicine due to him having a medical degree. Well, it turns out his knowledge was unfortunately very highly tainted by the actions of an addict. You see, Mantegazza, on his return from his excursion, did what all addicts who are blind to their addiction do. He espoused the benefits of his vice, and he did it by basically writing a paper in which he told everyone that the coca leaf was a wonder cure for pretty much everything. And of course, because he was a prominent neurologist from the time, his paper gained a lot of traction. So much traction that when a chemist and entrepreneur from France named Angelo Mariani read it, he was so inspired by the potential medical benefits of cocaine that he used it to create a wine that he called Vin Mariani. He then advertised Vin Mariani as a patent medicine which had the power to increase energy, appetite, and mood. So basically, he marketed it as an energy drink slash antidepressant, but it wasn't, of course. It was an addictive path to ruin, but the people did not know that, and so they drank it, and because they drank it, they became addicted, and because they became addicted, guess what? They began espousing its benefits to everyone. And this, of course, brings me back to Pemberton, who, like said, was a morphine addict desperately looking to invent a cure. And guess what he did on hearing about the wondrous medical benefits of cocaine? He, of course, created Pemberton French wine coca, and of course, Coca-Cola. That means, yes, Coca-Cola, which, like said, was originally sold as a patent medicine, had cocaine in it as the main ingredient because of lots of people from the time, prominent people at that, in the medical field, getting addicted to cocaine. And of course, because of this, they kept telling everyone it was a wonder cure for everything, which of course led Pemberton to believe it could cure him and others of his morphine addiction. In terms of how much cocaine was in Pemberton's original Coca-Cola recipe, it is believed he used 5 ounces of coca leaves per gallon of syrup, which equates to approximately 9 milligrams of cocaine per glass of Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola. So high enough to turn a person into an addict, which is of course what happened, especially when Asa Griggs Candler, who purchased the rights for Coca-Cola from Pemberton in 1888, launched his famous coupon campaign, which basically gave people free drinks. And yep, I know what you're thinking, quite genius offering this insanely addictive drink for free. But anyway, in terms of why cocaine was removed from Coca-Cola, basically because people from their time began to realize just how dangerously addictive and damaging cocaine was. However, luckily for Coca-Cola, by that time it had already built up a massive fan base who continued buying it even after cocaine was finally removed, which technically took place in 1904, but in reality didn't happen until 1929. This is because it took until 1929 for them to work out how to remove all elements of cocaine from coca leaves. Oh, and to finish with a cool fact, a common colloquialism for Coca-Cola used to be dope, and the trucks that used to transport Coca-Cola used to be nicknamed Dope Wagons. The craziest thing about it, Coca-Cola trucks are now synonymous with Santa Claus, and the campaign that made that a thing happened in the 1920s to the 1930s, which was the period in which Coca-Cola finally got rid of cocaine entirely from its recipe. Yep, a coincidence? You tell me. That's all from me. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this, remember to give it a like and subscribe to my channel, because the more who do so, the more of these short histories I can make. Is that a good bribe? I hope it is, and I will see you next time.